It is funny how inspiration can catch you at any time. While looking through my fiance's grandpa's drawer, I came across an old dusty book that looked older than anything I'd ever read before. After a quick look, I discovered it was published in 1939 by an author named Joe Godfrey Jr. This book contained information on over 30 freshwater species that can be found throughout North America. After reading about all the different species, my mind began to wander, and I thought of an idea that would be by far the biggest project we have tackled yet. So I decided to do some research and called my brother to see if I was out of my mind.
Hey, so I got a new idea. It's kind of big, but hear me out. So my brother and I, we've probably been fishing shortly after we could walk. It doesn't really seem like the walking and the fishing kind of were separated. They kind of went hand in hand, and we were in a boat since we were kids, going after a smallmouth at our local hydro plant. It's probably the first memory I had fishing was trolling just with simple little spoons and reeling fish in when I was 3-4 years old.
Probably not one of my first memories, but first time I remember actually going out on a fishing trip, and we used to do it a lot throughout the summer, was going downrigging. And we used to have our old boat. You know, we'd run 2 or 4 lines, and we'd hope to get 1 or 2 fish. And I remember Chase and I a lot of the time would lay in the front and be bored, and I just find that it's funny that that's our first kind of fishing memory of going out there. And we caught lots of fish and it was awesome, but now the fact that we're spending all this time setting up 12, 15, 16 rods and all this gear and tons of time, it's just funny how we've transitioned over time from a couple rods out the back and a hope and a prayer to all this expertise and money and time. But I always find that funny to go back to the roots, and we probably did just as good some days out there with a couple lines as we would do right now with 16.
Yeah, it's kind of always been a part of our lives. It's something that's been engraved in, I think, our family. My dad learned it from his dad, and then obviously we grew up learning everything we knew from our dad. So
the true inspiration of mine and Chase's love for fishing comes from my dad, and looking back on some of those old pictures, and it's kind of funny to see us as little guys and him out there. I'm sure probably a little frustrated trying to get us going, but in the long run it turned us both into I think some pretty good fishermen, and eventually some fishing guides, and now I'd like to say that we teach him a thing or two as well. But he definitely was a huge part and integral part of all of this, and he's Papa Backlash, and you know, big part of everything that we're doing here. So it's he's definitely been a true inspiration here.
So we've had our YouTube channel for about 5 to 6 years now, and we've caught some absolutely incredible fish along the lines. We've caught walleye, we've caught lake trout, sunfish, rock bass, smallmouth, muskie, pike, like absolute incredible assortment of fish. And it's amazing doing these videos, but getting that bigger picture and putting this all together into a series is what really excites me. So I'm really excited to get this footage together in an organized collection and get it out to you guys.
Our goal for the Blue Book expedition is to catch every fish discussed in Joe Godfrey Jr.'s book of freshwater fish, a total of 36 species. We live on the north shore of Lake Erie, which places us within hours of over half the species listed in Joe's book. We are beyond lucky to have such a vast array of species in our area, and it is one of the main reasons why fishing for multi-species is such a passion of ours. We will be able to target fish through several techniques, including trolling, casting, on the fly, and from a boat, shore, or on the ice. Not all species can be caught in our area, thus, some trips will be planned, including a trip out to New Brunswick, where we can target chain pickerel, the common eel, and the Atlantic salmon from the world-class fishery of the Miramichi River. While out east, we have a great opportunity to target landlocked salmon in Quebec in both the Wananashi and the Arctic char in Labrador. Canada is full of world-class fisheries. The Northwest Territories has several of them, one being Great Slave Lake. This body of water will allow us to highlight the giant size of lake trout and the beauty of the grayling. Just like Ontario, British Columbia provides us an opportunity to catch several of the species listed in the Blue Book, including a handful of salmon species and the prehistoric giant, the white sturgeon. I have a feeling this will be a trip we will never forget. And where better to finish our journey than in the Colorado Rockies, chasing after some of the most beautiful trout the world has to offer.
Yeah, so my goal for this journey is to hopefully inspire people to get out and go after some different species.
I think Chase and I, and my dad and that as well, have always been multi-species anglers. There's some guys that are solely, walleye, pike, whatever it might be. We go for everything, but I think with this, it's really cool because we were literally just driving home on the way and we're chatting about how can we find a sucker, how can we find a carp, how can we find a bluegill. Like, it's all these stuff that most people would just scratch off the list as nothing fish, and now we're thinking, trying to make videos and trying to get perspective of how we could target all these different cool fish of Ontario and Canada, and it just shows you how many fish there are to offer in just a small area of southern Ontario, and hopefully northern or even parts of Canada here that we can venture out to. So that's what really interests me about this series, and I think just as in general as an angler, I think it's cool that we can target everything we want.
Every fish is so unique, and I think it's worth getting out, and I hope we can shed some light on the information behind each species and different ways to target it and where you can find them. And I think it'll be a really cool addition to the YouTube scene. So now that you guys know what the Blue Book Expedition is all about, we hope you guys join along. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're going to be posting these as much as we possibly can. We have no timeline on this. We are all people that have Monday to Friday jobs, so we're going to try to pick away at the species as much as possible. And some species are definitely a bigger shot or a bigger challenge than others, so it'll take some time to get around to it, but this is definitely going to be an exciting journey, and we're excited to bring you guys all this content. So welcome to the Blue Book Expedition.